Hi, today we're going to be adding a page part area to our Wix.com website. We're going to start with a blank document, a blank template, and work from there. So a page part is basically a container that can either hold text, graphics, or do lots of different things. So we're going to click on Add, navigate over to Page Parts, click on Areas. This gives us a dialog box with 4 different pages to choose from. Since we're going to be building a pretty complicated page part that's going to do a lot, we're going to start simple. So I'll click on Simple. This drops our page part area down into the lower left-hand corner, and I want it to actually show up on the page, so I'm going to click it and drag it over. As you see, the yellow triangles show up on the outer edges of our editable region, so we want to make sure that anything we add is within this yellow triangle area. We're going to drop it there. If we don't like the size of our page part, we can resize it simply by clicking and dragging the various corners and walls. And if we want to drag it and lock the aspect ratio, we just drag one of the corners. So we have our page part here, but when we select our page part, you'll notice that there's a whole bunch of menu options that come up. If we don't like the page part that we're working on, we can replace it. We can change colors, settings, add a hyperlink, which we're going to do, add effects, initiate some user-generated behaviors, and even add animation. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try each of these links separately. Click on Replace, and that's going to bring up all of the different page part options that we have. Now, we're not going to replace it now, but if you find that as you're working through your page part and it's just not working for you, the format isn't right, you can click Replace and replace it straight away. We're going to close this box. We don't want a boring page part, so we're going to add a little bit of color to our part. So we're going to click on Color, and I want to make sure it has some snap to it. So let's do this turquoise color. Click OK. Then we're going to change the settings. The settings is basically a transparency option for this. We can scroll the transparency either lighter or darker. If you have an image behind this and you want it to show through, you can set the transparency rather low and it's going to show through. But for us, we're going to put it 2 ticks below the 1 at 0.8. It's going to give us a little bit of transparency but retain the color. From settings, we're going to go down to links, which actually allows us to hyperlink the entire page part to either a different URL, which is another website, a page within our website, or someone's email. Now we're going to go ahead and hyperlink this to Google. That means that whenever somebody clicks on this page part, it's going to open the Google's website. When you're hyperlinking to an exterior website, something not your own, you want to make sure that you open it in a new window so that it doesn't override your website and people don't wonder what happened. If you're opening from your own website, you can open in the same window, and that basically is a different navigation feature. So we'll click OK, and now that hyperlink is set, but we can't see it. I'll show you how to see it in a minute. The effects, basically different looks for the page. You see here we have 3 different pages of effects. So if we go over, maybe we want it to pop or dance or do something kind of neat. We'll click on blur. We're going to go ahead and blur the image, and the neat part about blurring is you can actually change the blur ratio all the way from no blur, which is very sharp lines, to the highest, which is the 20 pixel blur. And you can see the live preview over here that the edge is actually blurred as we did that. If we decide that we don't like the blur, when you scroll over here in the edited effects added to this region, you can either exit out or plus it and adjust the blur ratio. So there we go. Now we're going to add a behavior, which is a user-generated action. Behaviors can be usually done on rollover or sometimes on click, and you'll see here that there's adjust color on roll, transparent on roll, things like that. So we're going to adjust the color on roll. It's going to bring up some color options. We can make it much, much brighter, much, much darker, add some contrast. So just slide those around and see what happens. Again, if we don't like it, we can just click the X and get rid of it. And finally, we're going to add a little bit of animation so that it comes in kind of neat. When you rotate something in or bring it in, it gives you an option of how long you want it to rotate in. If you want it to be very, very fast, you can put 20 seconds, but give it a little bit there, a little bit of time. We'll cut it down so it's not quite so long. Okay. Now we've added all these different options to our page part, but we can't see what it's actually doing. In order to tell what's going on, we're going to click on Preview up here at the top. You see it kind of rotate in and blur. When we roll over it, see how it gets nice and dark. And when we click on it, it should take us to Google's website. Pretty cool. So as you can see, we've got our page part up and running, and it's working just fine. And that's how you insert and edit a page part on Wix.com.